Hey, it's Travis. Too many camp directors run just on gut feel. Our free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic is your dashboard for resilience. Take it today at camp.mba/Travis. Again, that's camp.mba/Travis. Today on the CampHacker podcast, 10 plus maintenance skills that every camp director should have.
This is CampHacker. Come find our show notes and our blog for camp directors and leaders at camphacker.tv.
This Go Camp Pro podcast is sponsored in part by the American Camp Association, New York and New Jersey, dedicated to preserving, promoting, and enhancing the quality of the summer camp experience. Offering a wide range of professional development, including both in-person and virtual, their events are designed for all youth development professionals. More info can be found at acanyny.org. Good day and welcome to the CampHacker podcast. My name is Travis Allison. I am a summer camp marketing and strategy consultant, and I am so excited that you're here today with us.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Hudson. I'm a social worker and the director of Camp Highlight, a sleepaway camp for children of LGBTQ parents. And I'm even more excited than Travis to be here.
And my name is Gabrielle Rail. I'm one of the camp directors of Camp Waro. And Camp Waro is an all-girls camp situated in the Laurentian Mountains of Quebec, Canada. And we focus on creating a positive female community. And we do that while speaking in English and in French.
And I'm Joe Richards. I'm the executive director at Pierce Williams Summer Camp and Retreat Facility. We are a summer camp and retreat facility that's open year-round, and we're in southwestern Ontario, about halfway between Detroit and Toronto.
Welcome to the CampHacker podcast. We're so grateful that you're here with us today. We want to focus today on something that you might be surprising for some as part of this job. It's just some basic skills to make you feel comfortable either delegating and supervising maintenance staff, or if you're renting, just to know that if you're unable to get a hold of your host, that there's a few things that you can do to get stuff started. I think some advice from those of us who've been in camp directing for a good period of time about things that you can take on or should know, just so that it makes your life a little easier in the things that you do. I will say that this topic comes up because of two frustrating instances in my camp directing history. One was a camp staff who came to me and said, the lawnmower quit working. And I said, did you check that there's gas in it? And she said, yes, I totally did. And I said, if I go out all the way out to the field and check on this, is there any chance that I'm going to find that this thing is out of gasoline?
I know where this is going.
And she said, no, not at all. So I flipped up the seat of the riding lawnmower and said, oh, look, it's out of gas. And this is someone who I knew hadn't grown up with the same experiences that I had growing up on a farm and using all these things. And I had shown her how to do all these things. My frustration wasn't that she didn't know these things, or rather remember from when I trained her, was that, as we talked about on a past podcast, that she had come to me without trying to solve the problem before. She'd just come to me to answer it. The other instance was, knock, knock, knock. Hey, Zoe, the lights are out in my cabin. Okay. Did you try the light bulb? No, I didn't do that. Okay. Why don't you go get a new light bulb and do that? Knock, knock, knock. Still lights, cabins are still out. Okay. Did you check the fuse? I don't know how to do that. Like, okay, I can't be frustrated with you because you haven't had that life experience, but it is certainly something that I think is good for us to know, to make sure in the basics we can do things like check a fuse or a breaker, plunge a toilet, and so on. Hey, Chris, I know your situation is different because it's not a site that you own and you're only there for a short period of time. Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that you think are important for people who are clients or guests of a site, but you still need to be fairly self-sufficient when the time that you're there?
I would say, first of all, make sure you have the phone number of the maintenance people, because depending on where you are, like our site, they are very clear. I was going to say insistent, but let's say they're very clear that they want to do any maintenance things that come up. They don't really want us sticking our hands in things.
Yep.
So we're quick on the trigger. However, which is great before the kids arrive. Once the kids arrive, that becomes harder to do because it's like, this is happening right now. I want to say this, when you sent the topic out, the first thing I thought, as a camp director, as anyone who spends time around children, listen up, everyone. You have got to get comfortable with a plunger in a toilet. It's gross. No one wants to, you know what I mean?
True.
It's so gross. I know it's gross. You know it's gross. You can gag and retch later, but it's going to happen. The toilet's going to get clogged up. There's
number one skill.
It's going to be poop in there.
Yep.
And it's going to sound ridiculous, but I'm just going to put this out there. You should practice at home. You should really practice. Like, take it. You should take it. Because you know what? The thing
dump a bunch of leftover food, hope it clogs the toilet.
Don't clog your toilet. You don't have to go for full 100%, like a full simulation. But you'd be surprised. What I learned when I was an RA in college, is how few people have actually plunged a toilet. Now, I've done it several times over my camp career, right? But every time it's totally gross. You totally don't want to get anything on you. But you'd be surprised. You get it done. It could be done in 5 seconds. Like you call, you stick the plunger in there, and all the kids are jumping up and down like, oh my gosh, it's overflowing. And the more you feed into that chaos and have to wait for someone to come and do the thing that you can do, just the longer the whole drama is going to go on. So that's my number one tip. Learn how to plunge a toilet. And I think the other things, if you
before we leave toilets, Chris.
Yeah,
could I interject?
No, let's just do a whole episode on toilets.
Well, we could.
Gab has done a whole kid code on poop before.
Yes.
So you should definitely know, and I love to practice it at home because there is an art to doing it without splashing. And that's what is worth the practice. And so there's lots of watch YouTube on how to plunge a toilet just so you feel comfortable with it. But there is an art to it that you only know once you start to not be splashy about it. The other part is how to lift the lid off the tank and pull the lever up that stops the water coming so that the flood stops. And even if you're suffering from mine and you've gone through that step of lifting the lid, holding up the chain holding up the float so that the water stops, and you send a kid to me, I will happily plunge a toilet because you stopped it from overflowing. It doesn't happen every time with a plugged toilet, but it happens multiple times. So I would say that. So.
I can't underscore what you just said enough. That's ideal.
The other thing is that you can use a plunger for multiple things. I used a plunger today to plunge out our sink because there was a giant hairball, not my hair, and but then once we fixed it, it still didn't drain. And it's just knowing that a plunger is a multi-place tool. As long as you block the overflow valve in a sink, you can plunge your sink as well.
I just learned something.
There you go. Mm-hmm. That's excellent. Chris, I know you had something else. Was it toilet related?
I could riff on toilets more because honestly, in 25 years of working at camp, this is the number one and the number two thing that comes up. It's toilets. I don't know what to say. When I think about maintenance, honestly, like, yes, there's so much equipment at camp. There's so much grounds and facilities. But the first time, as soon as you sent this out, the first thing I thought of, real talk, was poop and vomit. Because just knowing how to deal with those things, and it's real low tech stuff, like mop, that kitty litter stuff, and a plunger. Well, if looking back at my career, would have solved about easily 65% of the issues that we had, maintenance related issues. So that's it. But I'm going to start with that. I'll let someone else riff.
I have a vomit follow up. And then I'll let someone else put their tool in, and I'll riff on their.
We really should move on because this is getting a little. Ooh.
Did you mean to bring that up, Travis?
If you have done the quick clean of vomit and you can't get to the deep clean of vomit, pour coffee grounds on the space, and it'll absorb the smell, and then it's deal withable until someone can do the deep clean.
The other thing with vomit is to know to kill it. Bleach water, your heaviest cleaner, because it can transport norovirus, which is the key way that norovirus gets into camps, is that somebody comes in either through diarrhea or through vomit that is not cleaned properly, and then spreads to other people through flies and just basic, but yeah.
And touching stuff and then touching your mouth.
Yeah. And the other thing about toilets, and this might not, I don't know. The other thing is if it's overflowing and it's clean water, it is a bigger issue that needs to be dealt with. Like the whole septic tank needs to be dealt with. So if you're plunging and it's not flushing and it's all clear water coming back out, it's not an issue with a plug in the line. It's an issue with the septic tank.
That's interesting.
Trust me, it took me 4 times before I realized the connection between crystal clean water and paying somebody $400 to come pump out a septic tank.
There you go. Joe, do you have a maintenance tip or skill?
Yeah, that was my number one, plunge a toilet. Things we teach staff, right? Know when a smoke detector's battery is low, right? That little beep in a battery powered smoke detector. Because our staff they will let it go all summer because they don't know what it is sometimes. And then
totally.
Some basic skills like how to use a drill, how to hammer a nail, because a drill and a screw can fix a lot of things at camp that, immediately, or a hammer and a nail can fix it. How to set up and climb a ladder safely. Those are all things that.
Oh yes, as a firefighter, that always gave me so much stress at camp.
Those are my top 5. I put my 10 in order. Those are my top 5.
Or don't have ladders and use scaffolding and show people how to use that.
Even better. Way better. Okay. What do you think, Gab?
If you have camp vehicles, know how to use all of them. Even if you have like some random little tractor, which we have here. We have 2 tractors, and there's official terms for them, but I'll just call the Stormtrooper. The Stormtrooper is a little one. And so, I don't know how to use the backhoe dig very well. I know how to move it, around, but you need to be able to move it in case, for whatever reason, to get from point A to point B. So even if you're not going to be in charge of using that machinery, know how to at least start it and move it from point A to point B, just so that in case of any emergency, basically. So for me, how to drive all the vehicles on your site.
I love that. That's super smart.
That's that one.
Please do, yeah.
It's on the list, and part of my list is like learn how to cut the grass, right? Like if you have a tractor and you have grass to cut, just learn how to do it. It's simple, but it teaches you how to drive it. But the other thing is learning how to listen for what's not right in equipment if you use it enough. It's one of those things that I thought was just general common sense, but I guess it's not. Because equipment sounds different when it's going to it's like your car. You hear something different and you're like, well, that's not right. It's the same on a tractor. And we have a great volunteer here, Brother Bill. And the first year he was here, and he cuts a lot of grass every summer, like probably 200 hours of grass cutting over a year. And just listening what it goes, because he'll stop and he'll be like, something doesn't sound right with the tractor, and I'll come and be like, okay, yeah, that is not right. And then we pay to have it fixed, but it's cheaper to have it fixed than to from that point than to let it keep going.
When I was thinking about this, and it's confirmed by what you all are saying, and maybe this is more of a training issue, but working with staff, especially the young staff, that you can solve problems. Very simple things.
Please,
like you're
yes.
saying, like a simple hammer or nail.
Yep.
Sometimes I get really, I don't want to blow up anyone's spot. I know some of my staff listens to this, but sometimes I get things like, oh, Chris, I wanted to hang up this mailbox outside the cabin. Can you come by and do it? And I'm like, what have you tried? Well, I don't know that I haven't really, I've tried leaning it up against the wall. Okay. Have you run down to arts and crafts or makerspace, hammers, nails, duct tape? Like, have you, it just doesn't occur. I don't know. Maybe this is more of a training issue, but working with staff to be like, listen, here's some common things that might happen. And you are on deck to, if not solve the problem, be able to pass off enough information to solve the problem. Like Joe was saying, like, what did you hear, see, smell, experience that can help me solve the problem? Like we're all the maintenance team, as it were. The other maintenance tip I want to say, this sounds like small pool, but it depends on your camp culture. When the tetherball ball comes off of the rope, figuring out how to reattach that and quick, because these kids need their tetherball. Like,
I love tetherball.
Oh my gosh. Real talk, I don't understand tetherball. I don't know why it's fun. I have no idea, but they'll play it for
It's probably because you weren't a champion at 12 years old and it was the best moment of your life. And the person you played against was 13 and a half and everybody cheered for you. I'm just saying, maybe
that sounds really specific.
Maybe that's why you
maybe that's why it wasn't you, Chris.
But that was other than toilets, the number one maintenance request at my camp 2 years
Fair point.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Chris, like what you're talking about too is camp directors being very clear with staff members what they can and cannot do. And I think oftentimes, more times than not, they're not quite sure what they're allowed to do. And so they sort of step back and put their hands up saying like, I don't know how to do this. And if we're clear about the expectations on what we want them to take care of and that we prefer that they'd come forward, just setting those expectations, front loading at the very beginning, and then giving them the opportunity to actually do it. I remember, our emergency whistle is 3 tweets, a pause, 3 tweets, a pause. And I'd been teaching that for years, but I never gave people the opportunity to actually blow into a whistle, full power, 3 tweets. And it just took a new staff member to say, hey, maybe you could give us a chance to do it. And try that out. And so if we want people to plunge toilets, if we want them to lift up the back of the toilet thing or change a light bulb or et cetera, giving them the opportunity, setting up a relay course around camp, even lighting matches is something that I found to be such a huge skill for staff members that get really anxious around matches. They sort of hold the box, they light it, and the whole box and the match launches out of their hands because they're like, fire, and giving them an entire box to just play. Then you'll have the pyros, that will just love to play with a whole box of matches, but giving them actual experiences to do these things, to hold a hammer, not choke the hammer, et cetera, and making it fun, but being very clear, this is what we expect of you maintenance wise. When you see garbage on the ground, you pick that up. That's maintenance. You see chairs pushed out, you push them in. That's maintenance, all the way up to the light bulb. But please don't put nails into the walls. Please don't, et cetera. If you need that assistance, we'll come and help you. But being very clear is going to, I think, just take off that weight of, I don't want to step on toes, or I don't want to do something I'm not supposed to do.
And I think it's also important to understand, and this was something that required a lot of patience on my part when I first got started, was that, as I said already today, not everybody had the same experiences that I have. Something like that's not that weird that people would come to camp at 17, 18, 19, not have lit a match before, not have changed a light bulb before, not know where to look for a breaker. Like in some families, that's not something that kids are taught. And that was something that I learned at a young age. So it requires some thinking. And I think a good camp director takes notes every year on things like, this is something I should make sure we cover every year. And stuff like, here are the common things that I'm surprised that others don't know how to do when they arrive at camp, because lots of people, this is their first job. They weren't cutting grass at 10 for their uncle, like I was. And so just keeping that list and thinking about those things and then giving them the skills and a chance to try it. And I love the idea of a fire starting session, which of course is getting to light matches, because it's things that they wouldn't do at home. Even at camp, they likely most of the time have had staff do it for them. And now they're first year staff and they're like, God, I've never done this thing before. So it's good to keep that list and keep that going.
When it comes to fires, at our site, they want to light all the fires for us, which is great. Putting fires out is something that we have to do on our own. And it's something that because staff will see a fire burning as we're all leaving and be like, hey, someone needs to put this out. I'm like, that someone is you. You know, you can do this. And it's incredibly important, especially in a forest. Like, if you see a fire and no one's around, like, maybe you should put it out. That's a fantastic maintenance skill, I would think.
I love the idea of a maintenance relay as part of training. And we do training on cleaning because we do so many rentals that our changeover from camp to rental on a Friday is like an hour and a half long. So our staff have to have those skills. One of the skills that we try to teach staff, and it's difficult, is the idea to see something that's not normal or not right. So a great example, a few years ago, nobody told me that they had been driving through a puddle for a week and it hadn't rained in 3 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And what that means is that there's a water line leaking, and they continue to drive through it on the grass. I was like, why didn't you just drive around it? But anyway, and so we know that when there's water bubbling up and even small bubbles, it's just looking for what's not right? Is there a puddle in the middle of nowhere? Okay, that's probably a water line. Is the tractor making a weird sound? There's probably an issue. I'm not saying they need to be able to problem solve that specific task, but they need to share it, right? And also knowing some really, as a camp director, knowing, I suppose Travis has said, right, they didn't come with his experience. I've always said that growing up, I'm a farm boy, so I grew up on a farm. And you just learn a bunch of skills that are not common to other people. You learn what tools are called because you called them the wrong thing for years before somebody hits you with one and then tells you this is what it's called. And love my
farm life.
But it's this idea that so not everybody's coming with that. So if you start from if I start from the premise that everybody's an idiot and we'll teach them these things, then that might not be the wording we use, but that's the way that
everybody's innocent or inexperienced, maybe?
No, they're an idiot.
I see, okay.
Yeah. Everybody has the ability to learn general maintenance tips, right? Like in general things. So seeing the way things are supposed to be, right? Picking up garbage when you see it, see what's not right. Those are things that are, for a camp director, those are super important things because oftentimes your younger staff aren't going to pay attention to it because they don't deem that piece of garbage on the field as important as you do when a parent's going to show up and walk around or a visitor is going to be on your site.
I can't help but notice that we start off going into this with like 10 maintenance skills that you need to know as a camp director. And we sort of back-ended into talking about staff training and staff acculturation. I find that interesting.
Yeah.
Because I think maybe that's the point where we need to start is really what's sort of our maintenance mandate that we are delivering to the staff. Joe, you brought up the problem solving piece. It's like, well, if there's water on the ground and it's been 94 degrees for 3 weeks straight and bone dry, like when do the gears start to turn? And how do you instruct someone to think that way when people, because let's be honest, you are a young person, you get a job at the camp, what you're thinking about is that be running around with kids, like Foursquare, dodgeball, kickball, swimming, canoe. Like they're thinking all these things and they're not really thinking about like cleaning, maintenance, plumbing. It's really working with them to get a shift. And like, this is the whole piece. And the maintenance piece is a large piece of it, because taking care of the kids is also taking care of their environment, which is like what we were talking about. So I
love that, Chris. That's so right. Yep.
It leaves me with the question is like, what's the best way to approach this with staff? Like, how do we, especially like not for nothing, like you said, Travis, like young people, like I think about the skills I had the first time I stepped onto an overnight camp. And when I was 19, you know, they still tell myths and legends about the things I didn't know. And some of them are true. Some of them are not. But like, there's a lot of things I just never done on my own. Like actually someone building a campfire and lighting it, I'd never seen that before. So there's lots of things that people don't come in with. Like, how do we, I guess I'm left asking the question, like, how do we teach people something like, if you see something, say something, without our doors constantly being kicked down by like, oh, you know, I saw a spark fly off the campfire. What should we do? Like that becomes, I don't know. Is it as much of a fine line as I'm painting? Maybe, maybe not.
The United Church of Canada's camping standards has a weekly review that is done that is solely safety based, right? So it's maintenance. Is there a loose step? Here's the best way to get your staff to share all of those things, but not with you. Who they share them with is your safety rep. And so the safety rep then takes notes, and it's their responsibility to share it with us once a week. Or I only have to train the safety rep on what is an immediate, right? If it's an immediate danger, a nail sticking out of the deck, we need to deal with it right away. In fact, as a safety rep, you could probably carry around a small toolkit of a screwdriver and a hammer and solve a ton of problems. And I think that weekly, having a workplace health and safety rep and having them do a weekly physical walk around with a checklist of what they're looking for prevents us from missing certain things. And some of our rental groups, we've noticed, for liability, they have safety reps who walk around before anybody shows up. The Mankind Project is amazing at this. We used to get pissed off at it because they would come to us with a list, you know, this needs to be fixed now. And that now we treat it like Mankind is coming in 2 weeks. So we'll figure out everything that's wrong at camp. and then we just know that on that Friday or that Thursday that our maintenance team has a bunch of work a bunch of small fixes they're going to need to do.
Hey folks, it's producer Matt here, and I am honored that this Go Camp Pro podcast is brought to you by the American Camp Association, New York and New Jersey. Did you watch the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers when you were a kid? If you did, you'll remember what happens when the Power Rangers combine their giant Zord robots together to form the Megazord. That's essentially what just happened in the summer camp professional development world. ACA New York, New Jersey teamed up with ACA New England to create a new virtual multi-day event for those in the youth development field. The Northeast Camp Conference will feature great speakers, opportunities to network, and share with summer camp professionals globally. They're looking forward to offering the best virtual content and learning experiences possible, so camps and youth development organizations can be the best they can be in 2021. You can find more info at northeastcampconference.com or at acanyj.org. And don't forget, the fine folks at ACA New York and New Jersey are offering a special $10 off discount to any one of their events by using the code GOCAMPPRO10. That's GOCAMPPRO10. Thanks to the American Camp Association, New York and New Jersey for sponsoring this podcast.
I think that you raise a really good point. I mean, certainly we can teach people to see, but I was thinking about the toolkit, and I would say that it is worth a camp director having hidden where people don't know about it, your own little toolkit, one that's not necessarily tools from the maintenance yard or wherever people pull stuff from, but is your own, so that you know that you can do things like a multi-headed screwdriver, a adjustable wrench, a hammer, and a pair of pliers and a sharp knife, and you've basically covered everything that is a 2-second job with having those tools handy in a place where you know where they are and that you can access them. So it's certainly one of my tips is keep a little toolkit of your own. And one of the fun things about the tool of the week, as you know, is you get to understand tools that you really like and, gather your own tools as you use them and get to know them. But just having a little toolkit like that hidden in a bottom drawer, something that you can pull out whenever you need is a nice, easy way to solve problems quickly instead of having to chase somebody down. If you are allowed to make changes or fixes based on whatever your situation is. Other skills that I think, Chris, do you have something to add into that or another skill?
I'm just looking at my list, but you said it like right off the bat when it comes to like circuit breakers. That was my only other thing.
Right.
Is that
Totally.
There's a lot of like, in the Great Hall, the lights won't turn on. I mean, your story. I've actually said, have you tried the light switch? People are like, oh,
With you,
where
brother.
is it?
Totally been there.
And I'm like, so let me get this straight. You didn't look for the light switch. You came to find me to tell me. It's like, that's wild. But also the breaker, I think, whenever the lights don't turn on from the light switch, that's the issue. It's almost, for us, it's almost never the bulbs. So it's always the fuse blew.
At one point in my life, I was a video DJ and did high school dances all across British Columbia. And it was a national company, so I would call back to Toronto if there was it took 4 hours to set up the show. And Randy, who's a good buddy of mine, says he's on the other end of the line when you call the hotline. And his first question is always, is it plugged in? And he said it solved 80% of the calls, right? And so, but he got to the point where with me, because we were dealing with youth who weren't experienced with me, I would start with, hey, Randy, it's plugged in and it's not working, right? So we could just skip to the next. But as far as, this thing isn't working, you start with the most basic, well, is it plugged? The printer is not working. Is it plugged in to the wall? And is it plugged into the computer? Let's do those two things and go from there.
Gab, did you have any other issues or things that you think people should know in this job to just do basic maintenance stuff?
Yeah, I mean, when we're talking about electric box, just anything that's the major turn on, turn off valves, gas, water, electricity, whether it's your own site or that you're renting it out, just know where all those things are. Because if there's an emergency, you might have to turn them off. If there's something that goes, So just like gas, electric, and water, and something that I think will help camp directors in the long run. And if you don't, you're not a carpenter, but you may be looking at getting into a little bit of maintenance, learn how to replace boards. So boards in cabins, boards on steps, anywhere where there's some wear and tear on boards. You might not be able to build a building, but you can fix that first step before you go into the cabin. And that makes a big difference. Like those steps can get broken or worn down, and you might not be able to call in somebody, a carpenter that can fix that. So I like, and screens as well. It's just things that will help your site look better. It's not necessarily safety issues, but learn how to reframe a screen, and there you go. And if you teach a couple of staff on rainy days when your staff can't do maintenance, then you're just taking down screens and getting those fixed and repaired and maybe just painted, and then it looks nice. So for me, if I was to take a little class, I would learn really more about board steps that you can repair, and also how to replace a screen.
I think those are huge things, because with a step, it's a simple measurement. It's often not a fancy cut. And so that goes to learn how to use a basic saw, be it a hand saw or be it a chop saw. The last two I put on my 10 things, and then before the 10 good things to know, were know how to use a phone and know the maintenance contacts to call to repair stuff. So for you, Chris, that would be, right, the person on site. For us, it is a long list, right? So it's electrical. We're going to call Pro Electric, and the guy's name is Jeremy. right? And it's just a Google spreadsheet that anybody can access on their phone right? And so, if it's a septic tank, we're going to call Lake Erie Excavation, and if it's a bigger issue, we're going to call David Lake as our water guy, right, to solve those problems. And having that maintenance list prevents a whole bunch of looking online for who the first company is, because you're talking to people who've probably been on site before and either fixed it or know that this is, in their mind, they'll know that it might be a larger problem. And so knowing your maintenance contacts and having that shared not amongst all your staff, just amongst the people who you want to call them. And how to use a phone is a weird skill, but it goes to some of the additional ones I have, which are things like know your limits. So this idea that when you're a camp director or an executive director of a camp, you need to know what your time is worth and what's worth your time. And so the idea of always outsourcing something is going to be really expensive for your camp in the long term. So I'm sitting in my camp house now and I'm looking at flooring that I put in many, many years ago. And I know that I put it in, so it was camp time. But had we paid someone to put it in, it probably would have been 3 times the cost of just me doing it. And it's really one of those things where know your limits, right? And know your codes, because technically in Ontario, you're not allowed to go into an electrical box. You're not allowed to take the cover off of a fuse panel. Mm-hmm. You're not allowed. And that's just code. And so you have to know who your electrician is and know how friendly they are to you. And just it's things like that. And also that maintenance is better than repair, right? Doing maintenance on something to avoid repair, right? So putting a screw in when you see a screw is loose, that's maintenance. Cutting a new board, that's repair. It takes a lot less time to do maintenance than it does to do repairs.
And I think that's a great tip, Joe, is that have a maintenance schedule and have a maintenance checklist and a maintenance practice, even if it's stuff that you're not necessarily comfortable with, that you can check off, oh, there's a problem that we need to escalate or bring in somebody or talk to our site host, whatever it is. Maintenance is incredibly important to keeping things running all the time. I think another skill, if you own or are on your own site, day camp or overnight camp, you should know how to light the pilot light on stoves.
Yeah.
The pilot light on a hot water heater if you have propane hot water heaters. Gas in some form, hot water heaters. All of those things are pretty simple, but sometimes they're tricky to figure out. And so that, again, is back to know your site, know what you're able or expected to do, and when you need to call somebody in. But some basic things like paying, if you're in a remote site and you're paying a plumber who's charging you from the time they leave their office or their shop to get the travel time to get to camp, to light a pilot light is not good camp spending.
For plumbers, Travis, I told my son, he helped me today. I said that fix of taking out a hairball out of a sink, that could be up to a $400 charge to have a plumber come out and fix it. Right. And he's like, no way. And I was like, I did mention before you went to university that you could be a plumber, didn't I? I did say these things out loud.
Yeah.
Plumbing is a great racket. I'm just
sure
saying.
Is.
Yeah.
Sure is. I think that there are really, right, Chris, this is about mindset in so many ways. It's mindset of, can I identify a problem? Can I see can I identify that there is a problem? Can I see what the problem is? Can I figure out if I can try to fix it without doing more damage? Or can I, find the right person to do it on staff, somebody from outside, whatever it is. I think that having comfort with this makes you more comfortable with the place. It gives you more ownership over the property. Even if you're only there for a short period of time in a year, you still feel like there's that sign that I put back up that one time, and gives you a feeling that you did it. I have never in my life seen staff take better care moving dining hall tables, that those staff were the ones who varnished the floor in the spring.
Exactly, yeah.
That is a lot of ownership. If you've been involved in the 1 week process to varnish the floor in the dining hall, then you're pretty good at getting people to lift tables and not slide them.
I think also if you are a guest on a host site like Camp Highlight is, it's having the conversation with the site people, the maintenance people, and having them come talk to the staff. Now that we are talking about this, it really is all about maintenance mindset. Like, what does it mean to maintain this? What does it mean to maintain? What's my responsibility as director, assistant director, all the way down to CIT? What's my responsibility? Is it my responsibility to report or to repair, or to maintain? And I think it's having the host come talk to you about what, like, I think Gabz mentioned this, like, what is the expectation as we are guests on this site? What's the expectation? What do we handle? What do you handle? Where is our limit? Because my thing is, like, if you're in the dining hall and something falls off the wall, you see the nail give way and fall off the wall, but the hole's there, like, can you stick the nail back in and hang it back up? Sure, you can do that. There's no reason why you shouldn't, really. But that's not a skill thing. It's a mindset thing. And really comes back to training.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I think it also,
this is a training issue.
It's also the idea of the right staff, right? So at camp, no matter whether you're on a host site or whether you're on a site you own, equipment is one of the most expensive things, like tractors, gators, lawnmowers, rototiller, right? Like, all of those things, if you have them, cost more money than most things at camp. And what we talk about here is the right staff operating the equipment and the limits that staff have. So not just anyone can hop on a gator and drive out around camp. Many years ago, this was highlighted to me when we had some contract staff who were with us for a year and a half, doing a project to get our world camp started. And they, in their mind, they were cleaning out farm camp. And they thought, oh, we'll use the rototiller to rototill the beds in the fall, and it'll all be, or no, it was a mulcher, like a cheap mulcher was what this was. And we had got it donated through a non-cash donation. And unknown to me, 9 months later, it came up in a meeting that it doesn't work anymore. And what had happened is they had used it 9 months previous, and it had stopped on them and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. So then but they were afraid to tell me. And it wasn't a tool that we used a tremendous amount of time. In the end, what it was is that it was a brand new mulcher, and they didn't check for gas and oil, and they seized the engine, and they just thought they could fix that. And I was like, as a farm kid, I was like, nope. Like, that a seized engine is like a giant paperweight. You just throw it away. But it's this idea of having the staff know their limits as well, right? That they can only, if it's a piece of equipment, you need training on it, and you need to sign off that you've been trained for our health and safety binder, so that you don't cut your finger off in the log splitter or in the saw, or right. And just safety and the right people working with equipment is huge.
I think that it is a great director maintenance tip to, when you're thinking about those different levels, if there's a good visual system that people know, like, camp counselors can use anything that has green tape on the handle. You need to have training on anything that has yellow tape on the handle, or the handle has been painted yellow. And only 2 people can use things that have a red handle on them, because they are a chainsaw, or they're a $50,000 tractor, or they're, and so that visual system helps people to understand. Visual systems, I think, are one of my favorite maintenance tips, and such a great way to impacting the budget is A visual system being, here's a wall of tools. Everyone has its exact place. If you take it from there, you put it from there. But if I take it off a pegboard and I turn around 3 times, I'm going to know exactly where it goes back because there's a hole or a stencil where that tool fits back in its place. And there are, here's the entranceway to the maintenance shed that has basic green taped handles, screwdrivers and hammers and wrenches. And then there may be red handled screwdrivers and wrenches because they're the professional level ones that we want you to use these things, solve problems, but there are ones that you can't use. But having a nice visual system that says this thing is missing or I'm returning this thing and now I put it back and it's in the right place. All of those things, will be better for your budget and will just be better for the happiness of your maintenance staff, the happiness of anybody who's responsible for that equipment in any way there. And I would say another follow-up tip to that is there are times when you have to accept that, yes, this is summer camp and this is just things we're doing for kids, but it's much better sometimes to invest in industrial strength equipment instead of cheap tools that you just keep replacing all the time, but invest in things that are industrial strength because they will last, because it will put up with being handled by people who aren't super experienced using them. And they can handle those things. If you're looking at great wrenches that, aren't broken by being set down in the dirt because they're industrial strength, professional wrenches, that's probably a good investment for you. Although I would definitely red handle things like professional Snap-on tools, but a visual system do that.
To that point, and sometimes the investment is well worth it. Most times that investment is well worth it because for us in the spring, we have a ton of power washing done around camp. And if you have a cheap power washer, you can't let it run when the hose isn't on. Because the engine doesn't know how to deal with it. And so we spent $300 more on a power washer that has an internal, not a clutch system, but an internal. It slows down when you don't have pressure, and it saves the engine. And I've had it for longer than any power washer we've had here because you can't break it unless you drop it off a tractor, right? So right. I think that investment is huge.
Cool. Does anybody else have another thing?
Yeah. I have a couple of more, but I don't want to hog it. I'll just burn through them.
Give us quick, and then I'm looking to wrap the section up. So if you got a couple more, give it to us quick, and we'll move on to the tool of the week. Travis
Michelle would love this. Know the name of your building inspector, and get things in writing from your building inspector, so that if you're building something new, and they get to know your camp. Basic engine thoughts like check the oil. Don't be afraid to open stuff up, right? Like I think that's a big fear that people have that they're going to fail. And in a northern climate, learn how to plow snow because then you're not always reliant on someone else to do it. And it's a life skill that you can say you did.
That is actually an excellent finishing tip, Joe. When you teach some of these very basic things to staff, they will love you and remember it forever. This is a thing I learned at camp. I learned how to plunge my toilet at camp, and now I'm living in an apartment in New York City, and I'm perfectly capable of plunging my own darn toilet. Or I am building my own cabin in the woods because the maintenance woman was nice enough to teach me how to hammer and saw square things. And it's such a great skill. I mean, it's been years since I first started as a camp director. I can't tell you the number of things that people have come up to us, what we used to call life skill sessions, which is some of this maintenance stuff, plus, how to check the oil in your car and change your tire. The number of times people have come up to me and said, I use that all the time and always think of camp. Great. Thank you all. So now we're done talking about tools. We're moving on to our tool of the week.
Tool of the week.
So thank you all for those. Is there something specific that you brought today that you feel makes you a better camp director that you would love to share with somebody else? Chris?
Absolutely. So I was introduced to this a year ago. It's a website and an app on your phone now, a website, native-land.ca. It is run by a nonprofit it overlays on a map of the world the indigenous tribes and peoples who inhabited the land in which you stand right now. It is a font of information. Once you find the nation, it has links so you can learn more about them. It goes to the website of that tribe, the nation, and you can learn more about it. I know land acknowledgements are a thing now that makes it way easier. And I think it's really important, especially because the way that camp is in North America and sort of the things that were borrowed, stolen, and appropriated from indigenous people. I think it's important to bring to our staff and our kids and our families a real understanding of that history of camping, but also the history of the people's land that we are on, teaching outdoor and wilderness skills. So I love it. I just click around and I've learned so much. It's so great. And it's available on the Google Store and the Apple iStore. I don't have an iPhone. What do you call it? The Apple, Google, the iStore.
The iTunes Store?
The iTunes Store. Thank you.
Yeah.
So download it today and find out who lived where you live now.
And also a very small but worthwhile first step for summer camps to start to acknowledge some of the cultural appropriation we have done through summer camp for the last 120 years. Thanks, Chris. That's a good one. My tool of the week is an app that I love. I'm often surprised that others don't use it. It's called Franz, Franz, or Franz. And like all of these, if you go to camphacker.tv/podcast, this is episode 135. You'll see these listed there. Franz is an app that you install on your computer that pulls together all of the messaging apps that you use on your phone into one app on your computer. So you can put Slack in there. So all of the Slack teams that you're on, I have WhatsApp on my computer. I have Facebook Messenger in this app. I have Google Hangouts because Joe is the only person who responds to me at Google Hangouts, but I want to make sure that I respond to him. All of those things are tied together on my computer, and text messaging as well. So it's all in one place. I'd love to find the same one app for my phone that puts all the messaging into one place. But it's Franz. It's free, and I use it all the time, every day. It's a really, really great choice. So I don't have to dig up my phone all the time. I can answer stuff and text people or message them, and it's all in one place, which is so good. Gab, what's your tool?
My tool is a chainsaw. It's the Black & Decker 10-inch 20-volt chainsaw. It doesn't take gas. It's battery powered. And if you are on a site where it's a sleepover camp, there's sometimes trees do come down, and sometimes you need to take care of those trees. So this is a good beginner chainsaw. It has nice power, but it's quite light as well. So and chainsaws can be intimidating, and I wouldn't recommend necessarily just getting a chainsaw and using a chainsaw. I would find somebody that can teach you how to use a chainsaw, how to maintain the chainsaw, common mistakes of getting the chainsaw pinched in a tree or a branch because of the weight and the angle and et cetera, et cetera. But it definitely can help with a lot of confidence. And just two years ago, our head of maintenance, pretty much everybody that knows how to use a chainsaw was off of camp. And we had one of those massive gusts of wind that was almost like a sneeze from God and knocked down 8 trees. We were all indoors and we have those protocols, but it blocked our road for access. So it was nice that some of us knew how to use the chainsaw. So this is a nice, easy beginner chainsaw.
I love it. That's a great one, Gab. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Joe?
My tool is a multi-head screwdriver, which I had a different tool, but this one makes more sense with this conversation. Mm-hmm. It's called the Pickwick, and I was just on their website, and literally one of the testimonials is, if Chuck Norris was a screwdriver, he would be a Pickwick. I was introduced. I know, I laughed too. I was introduced to Pickwick. I was introduced to Pickwick when one of our camper parents was helping us put in doors during a fire order a couple of years ago. And he said it is the tool as a door installer that he uses the most. The benefit of having a multi-head screwdriver, period, is amazing. All Pickwicks are magnetized as well, which if you've dealt with screws, you know that having a magnetized one to hold it on. And all of these bits also work in drills. So you just pop it out and you can put in a drill. So it is, I'm looking here, they have a wide variety. And today in the office, we were joking about it because we did some work today with the tiny turner, which you can do eyeglass repair with the tiny turner Pickwick. And I have a stubby that stores in, like Travis said, I have a tool. We have a toolkit in our office, and I have a stubby that Pickwick that sits in my desk, and I use it to put screws in walls and to hang things. And it's just, it is a great and fairly inexpensive, like $10-15 per, and it'll last a lifetime.
Excellent choice. Excellent thematic choice, as well as a tool that I have used for many years. All right. Well, Chris, if people want to follow up with you, how can they get in touch?
They can follow me on Instagram at PlanetChris1, or you can follow Camp Highlight at Camp Highlight, or you can write me an email, chris@camphighlight.com.
Excellent. Joe, how about you?
If people want to see some of my camp writing and whatnot, they can go to yoyojoe.com. And if they can send me an email from there, or they can send me an email at my camp address, which is joe@campisbetter.com. Life is good. Camp is better.
.com. Gab?
You can follow me on Instagram at Gabrielle Rail with 2 L's. And you can also message me there. That's the best place to get in touch with me. If you want to check out where I work, you can go to waro.com. We have a new website, so that's exciting. And if you click on the emails there to get in touch with me, somebody from Camp Waro will also get in touch with me that way.
Your new site is pretty.
Thank you.
Well done, Gab.
Thanks.
And when Gab says we have a new site, what she really means is I built a new site for us and did all the artwork. So good work, Gab.
Thanks.
So thank you to the three of you for sharing your insights and ideas, and appreciate spending time with you. It's always such a pleasure to have an hour with you every couple of weeks, and I'm grateful. And I'm grateful to have an hour with you folks as well. We appreciate that you've sat down and watched us on YouTube, and or you've taken us on a walk with your dog or doing the dishes. And that's always just fun to imagine all the different places in the world where we go on adventures with our listeners. So we're grateful to hear that. Speaking of which, I would love it if you would, wherever you're listening to the show, take a shot of your surroundings and tag at gocamp.pro on Instagram when you're listening to the show, and or just do a screenshot on your phone when you're listening to us and forward that episode that you like to a camp friend of yours. We'd be super grateful for that as well. We want to take a moment to say thank you to our editor and producer, Matt Hansberger, for who helps us get this show out to you. And really thank you to those folks who keep the show going and support us with helping to cover Matt's costs by supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/CampHacker. And so nice to be with you all today. Thanks for the evening, friends.
The Camp Hacker podcast is brought to you by Beth and Travis Allison, summer camp leadership training and marketing consultants. Thanks for listening. Camp Hacker, bringing your world into focus.
Hey Camp Pros, we love that our industry is built on sharing. In order to foster that spirit, we hope that whenever you share an idea that you learned from the Camp Hacker podcast, conference, summer camp professionals group, or wherever else, that you're quick to give credit where credit is due. That way, we can all encourage more Camp Pros to share the tips and tricks that will make camp better.
Hey, it's Travis. Camp directors often tell me they're just too tired to take on anything new. That's exactly why my free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic exists. It doesn't add work, it shows you progress. Quick, free, repeatable, you'll know if your systems are paying off without the guesswork. Try it today at camp.mba/Travis. That's camp.mba/Travis.